Hello and welcome to our channel. I'm CRSO Joe, the co-founder of Bravo Range Consulting. We are dedicated to all things range safety. This is our new YouTube channel. It's a place where RSOs, range managers, sportsmen's clubs executives, and all those interested in range safety can meet and share information. I started my journey as an RSO about 10 years ago, and since then I have performed over 300 mentor sessions for new members, designated alternative ranges for events, created remedial safety training courses, written hundreds of unique safety briefings, and been an RSO at many an active event. Bravo Range Consulting's other co-founder, Kyle, and I bring our collective military and civilian experiences to keep ranges safe and operational. We wish to continue that for our sport and guarantee it for us and other generations to come. Today's topic is an answer to a question I get all too often, both when I'm teaching the NRA Basic Range Safety Officers course or many times from event sponsors. And that is, what is my personal RSO loadout? Everyone's loadout will meet their personal needs and the requirements of the events that you will be attending. It's important to note here that it is not an RSO's responsibility to supply this equipment. Be careful not to become the S4 or supply officer for the events that you RSO. That is the job of the event organizer or sponsor. It's important that you are the chief or senior RSO for any event. You have asked the questions about where safety, first aid is, and any preconditions with local EMS or law enforcement is available. This should then be placed in your range safety briefing. Now, having said that, my loadout has a lot of redundancy to what should be on site, but my philosophy is better have it and not need it than need it and not have it. We can break my loadout down into really 4 components. The first is daily use, or what I call emergent or emergency items, those things I need to have within finger's grip. My second is my first aid or first responder materials. The third I call my range ruck. That will vary based on what type of RSO work I'm doing. And then, of course, your miscellaneous range or weather dependent materials. So let's start with the things that I need to have within arm's reach of me whenever I'm doing any type of RSO event. So the first consideration is, how do I get my materials to the range? It really doesn't matter. You can use a duffel bag. I've seen people use the 3-day backpack. It doesn't matter as long as you get it there. For me, I had an old plate carrier, a mole gear plate carrier from my days as a military police officer. This works best for me. I've removed the plates. It actually gives me more pocket space. And then I have everything I need for that range activity in one place at my fingertips. So these are the things that I use typically all the time when I'm on an active range. Obviously, I keep 2 pens because if one fails to stop writing, I have a backup. I keep an aluminum or a wooden dowel small enough to fit down any of the barrels of a handgun range that I may be on. Nothing makes a day worse than a squib load and can't get it out. In my front pouch, I keep a set of non-latex gloves for bloodborne pathogen protection. If you do this, make sure you take a look at them every couple of months, especially if you're working in the heat, that they haven't degraded. I keep an extra chamber flag around. This is not to give away. This is just in case I have to take possession of a firearm for some reason, and I can place it safe. I always keep a knife. I'm a big believer in dummy cords from my days in the military, so a lot of this stuff you'll see is actually dummy corded to the item that carries it. And I've begun actually using a video recording device, not just to capture some of the things we're doing on the range, but also in a mishap investigation or situation, you're going to have to record what's going on. These items are cheap, $69, $70 on Amazon. They're small. They record for hours. They record over. So if you're actually going to do a lot of range work, it's worth your time and effort to get one. On the back, I carry my personal first aid or first responder kit, which we'll talk about in a second. I also keep an extra set of EMT or trauma shears there in case I have to cut something. I've also begun carrying a gun lock. I literally have 50 of them here. You get them out when you buy a firearm. This is just in case I ever have to take possession of a firearm during a mishap. Maybe somebody has to be taken away by an EMT or is physically has to be placed somewhere else, say out of the heat. I can then lock that firearm up and make it safe while it's in my possession. On my side plate, you'll find a multi-tool. Gerber is great, SOG is great, Leatherman, I have all three here, whatever you decide to use. Having a multi-tool really helps with a lot of little different tasks that you might run into. I have a field weapons cleaning kit. That's a military issue on my back side of my side, just in case. And I keep an extra set of gloves if it gets cold or I have to pick something up that's hot. It'll protect my hands. On my right side, I carry a cell phone or a radio pouch. I'm usually in contact with other RSOs on the range. If you have cell service, text is a great way to do it. You do all that in the safety briefings, which we'll talk about in a later video. Before, I have been on ranges that are relatively remote and we've had to use small radio communications, so it's great to have that stuff by your side. What I recommend is that you get hearing protection that actually interfaces with your cell phone, and we'll talk about that in a later slide. I carry a flashlight. I may be out at night. I may have to look down a barrel for something, so it's not a very heavy item to carry. Again, it's bungee corded to me, so I don't ever lose it. I keep water for my hydration. It's very important that you as an RSO continue to think about your safety as well. Nothing more embarrassing that the RSO has to be taken away because of a heat injury. Adhesive tape I always keep on all of my rucksacks and my range bags. You just never know when you could use a piece of adhesive tape somewhere. Now moving on to my first aid or first responder materials. These are probably the most important thing that I carry, and I do not carry them in lieu of a range having them. I carry all this material for my safety and when I decide to use it. I have made a personal decision that I'm not going to let anybody get hurt or seriously injured because I failed to have the right materials or the range has failed to have the right materials. I do not disclose this information to the range. I don't want them dependent upon me for their safety equipment, but it's nice to know that I have it in case I need it. Again, how you carry it really doesn't matter, the container, but it needs to be contained in case so that it's all in one place. Again, I like to use the mole system because it attaches to the back of my rig very easily. It's also very easily accessible. Once you pull the Velcro off, you can pop the belt buckle, the plastic buckle, and then it just actually pulls right off the back, so nobody has to waste any time. It needs to, be mobile. It needs to be comfortable to carry. You need to be able to get to it, so you need to be able to know what it is, or people on the range need to know. That's what the medical symbol's for, as the identification of the first aid kit. And I always identify it as mine so that everybody knows I'm the owner. So here's a quick example of what it looks like inside my kit. It opens up. It actually opens to 3 different compartment areas, which I have fitted all materials that I think I would need should I have a mishap and have to intervene. The case carries quite a bit. I include a solar blanket. I also include a sealed military bandage. This military bandage is an Israeli one for this particular pouch. The American ones are a little smaller. They fit a little better. I have a Stop the Bleed kit. Mine is a SAM XT tourniquet kit, which we'll talk about later, which I think is a very important component of all first aid kits going forward. Is 95% of the first aid that you will see on any range. I keep adhesive bandages in various sizes for minor cuts and scrapes. I keep about 25 of them. Thumbs get above back straps, fingers get splinters, knees get scraped. These are the things that are first aid you're going to see more times than not. I keep the sterile gauze pads for the larger wounds, some adhesive tape if I have to tape it on. Antibiotic ointment is always good to put on a wound before you bandage it. I keep some larger elastic bandages for sprains and strains and to hold things in place. I do keep a couple of safety pins just in case. They're actually great for many things, including getting out splinters. I do keep ammonia inhalants. These are those respiratory stimulants. I don't use them or will not use them without direction of an EMT or from 911, but I do keep them on in my safety pack. So I do keep a couple of separate bleed stop packs just in case for smaller wounds where I don't want to break into my tourniquet kit. I keep glucose gel, which I had is new for me. It was suggested by my partner Kyle, and it was a great idea. I talked to my wife and I showed her my loadout. She's a physician, she's an eye surgeon, and I said, "What should I have in this that I don't?" And she recommended saline solution. It's sealed, it's sterile. It's good for putting in an eye if something gets in an eye, but it's also good to clean out a wound if you're on the range. And it keeps some low dose aspirin in a small bottle. Low dose aspirin is very good for people who may be suffering from some heart problems. Again, these are things that I would talk to 911 about before using them. So the types of tools and or instruments I keep within my pack, when they're in my pack that's on my rig, they are sterile. They're contained within sterilized bags. This is my training exhibit that I use during the RSO trainings. But I do keep a hemostat or a set of forceps clamps. I hope I never have to use them. I hope I never have to clamp an artery. But if I do, at least I have them. I keep tweezers or forceps. They are actually a fantastic tool that I've used quite often to pull out things like splinters, whether they be metal splinters or wooden splinters. I keep a surgical scissors or an EMT shear, obviously inside, sterile in case I have to cut away something. Again, these are things that are worst case scenario. I don't plan on using, and I plan on using working with EMS and or 911 should a mishap occur. So let's talk for a second about Stop the Bleed. This is in my advanced first aid. It is a major component of my kit. I would highly recommend that once you receive your RSO training, you take the initiative and go out and take a Stop the Bleed course. It's worth the investment, not just for range safety, but also for your own home safety. These kits are relatively expensive. I think this SAM XT kit was about $40 on Amazon. It's sealed, so it's sterile. It contains a pre-made tourniquet. It actually also contains gloves, a compression dressing, an emergency blanket, a trauma shear, a permanent marker for writing down the times you've applied the tourniquet. It has chest seal, and it also has some hemostatic gauze. Once you open this, though, I do not recommend you reuse it. If you open it and you're opening it for training purposes, it becomes just a training aid. The importance of the course will stress how long you can leave these tourniquets on for. Things have changed based on the information that has come back from the global war on terrorism. During my last course in advanced first aid in the military, we were putting tourniquets on and leaving them on for 30 minutes and then letting them open again. You do not do that anymore. They can be left on for up to 6 hours. The Stop the Bleed powder is very important for you to take a look at. There are different types of powder that work differently. Some of the powders work the same way that Coumadin and blood thinners work. You don't want to use those powders on people who are using blood thinners. And the powder is very, very effective. There are some wounds that you do not want to apply it to. Some very grievous wounds that you would not want to apply it to. It basically turns into a cement and they have to cut it all away. So you'll learn all about that in a Stop the Bleed course. I recommend it. I recommend having one of these at home. If you nick a femoral artery, you have about 4 minutes before somebody bleeds out. So you don't have a lot of time to train on this. You don't have time to think about it. All you have time is to open it and know how to apply it. So get one, practice with it, then get a couple for your house, is what I recommend. So again, advanced first aid. If you're ever in the military, we all always carried a military-style sterile bandage. There's plenty of them that are still sealed and are still good, and you can get relatively cheap. This is an Israeli one. I got it in a pack of 10 for, I think, 20 bucks. It's a sealed bandage. It's great for serious hemorrhaging. It's a first step to a chest care wound. Again, once it's opened, you do not use it again. But it's there for us as RSOs, so we have peace of mind. Some other protective gear. I keep non-latex gloves. I keep about 5 pair in my first aid kit so I don't have to break it open any of the other kits that may be sealed. Again, check periodically if all this stuff is out in the heat for a long time. Not necessarily in my first aid kit, but eye protection is important. Shatter-resistant glass, some cleaning cloths, and a protective case are very, very useful. Again, you don't want to become a mishap participant by getting something in your eye or having to use your saline wash on your own eye. Hearing protection and backup for hearing protection is important. I use over the ear. In the ear, I keep as a backup. Over the ear has some disadvantages. Again, if you're working in a lot of heat, you get a lot of sweat under there. Both my in-ear and out-of-ear protection are electronic, so I can hear people speaking. And I do keep extra batteries in my kit because it's inevitable you may be doing a 1 or a 2 day event that they run out and then you can't hear anybody. But you should have these. Also, both of my hearing protection here interface with my cell phone, so I can hear my cell phone ringing or I can hear somebody texting me. So that's just an additional bonus. So the third thing I take on all of my RSO experiences is something I call my range ruck. Again, doesn't matter how you carry it, but these are things that I do not need emergent or within arm's reach. These are things that can sit on a stand or even in the trunk of the vehicle until I may need them. So I use a 3-day patrol ruck. It's mole ready. Again, the things that I keep in and continuously keep in and do not change out based on whatever mission I happen to be doing is I always keep a fire extinguisher, a handheld personal fire extinguisher, especially if I'm doing an inline or a flintlock range. There should be fire extinguishers there on those ranges, and that's the responsibility of the range safety officers, but it's nice to know you have one. I keep extra set of batteries. I keep an extra clipboard. I keep some chem lights in case I'm doing something at night or something in lower visibility. I keep a pair of binoculars in case I'm doing any kind of long range work, like we're up to 1,000-meter shooting. I may need to look down range and make sure that things are safe down there without actually going down range. I keep a bolt cutter. The funny story around a bolt cutter is I was doing a remedial assistance program for 2 prospective members who were not doing very well in safety. I got through my club piece of it, the academic piece of it, and then the one person said to me, "Hey, I forgot the keys to my gun lock," which is kind of hard to go down and do the practical side. Without that, I did not have my bolt cutters. I had actually a couple of days before thought I should throw a pair of bolt cutters in because most infantry squads today in the U.S. Army are keeping bolt cutters. It's a smart idea. So I'm still learning as I go along, but I have a small set of bolt cutters that I just keep in the bag. I could go out to the car and I could cut that off with the permission of obviously the individual. Miscellaneous, range-dependent, weather-dependent items. Very important that when you're writing your safety brief that you're thinking about these things, not just for the individuals that will be on the range, but also for your own safety. You don't want to be warm in the cold. You don't want to be over hot in the heat. So these are extra things that you're going to keep on you. And also later on in those safety briefings, these are things that we're going to talk to the range coordinators about. As the range safety officer, you're going to want to be identified on the range so people know who you are. The RSO patches do that. I recommend that you have caps and covers with you. The one on the left I use when it's raining. It's a great one to keep the rain off my shoulders from going down the back of my shirt. And the one on the right is the one that I use on my usual regular range activities. Hydration is incredibly important. I keep an extra water bottle on my rig just in case. A lot of the activities I do in the summer, it's very, very hot out. So I keep at behest of Kyle, my co-founder, I actually use my Camelback that I fill for events where I'm going to be outside for longer than an hour. It's going to be important that you're asking the questions about how do the people on the event, whether they be spectators or they be participants, have access to hydration in your safety briefings. So I cannot stress this enough, especially for RSOs. We would not want you to fall out due to a heat injury. So you have to keep all of this in mind before you get to the range. And that's it. That's CRSO Joe's range safety loadout. I actually have all this material in the back of one of my vehicles. I'm heading over to the range next to do back-to-back prospective member mentoring sessions. I hope that you've enjoyed this. Leave us a like, leave a comment about what you put in your loadout. I love to see that because I love learning from other people. And we'll continue to improve our videos. We'll continue to get some live stuff from on the range. And help you to be a better RSO. If you'd like to contact us, our number will be on the next slide. If you work for a range or you'd like to improve the safety of a range, Kyle and I are available in a multitude of ways to help that happen. So again, give us a like and follow us. We'll be moving on to some new videos regarding range safety.